quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governor Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky. Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And UHealth, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Light Room, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
If you or your loved one is facing cancer, only Sylvester will stand firmly by your side at every step, from diagnosis through survivorship, providing you and your family peace of mind and assisting with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is South Florida's only NCI-designated cancer center and specializes in treating the most complex cancer cases. Your first-class cancer care is just a flight away. Learn more at sylvester.org.
When I first started going to Healthcare Pharmacy, it was because it was convenient. But over the years, I continued to shop there because I trusted them. One day I was picking up my prescription, and the pharmacist noticed an over-the-counter medication in my basket. She said, "I hope that's not yours. It will interact with your prescription." And I thought, wow, thank you. Trust is so important when it comes to your health. Healthcare Pharmacy with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor Square, where they care about my health.
Attention HR managers and business leaders. Want to boost productivity, reduce absenteeism, and show your team that their well-being matters? The Lightroom now offers custom corporate memberships designed to enhance energy and mental clarity, reduce stress, and improve overall health, creating a healthier, more focused workforce. Invest in your team's well-being because a thriving team leads to a thriving business. Visit thelightroom.ky to learn more. It's a new era in wellness.
Hello and welcome to For the Health of It. I'll be interviewing Cassandra Farron, a social worker manager, and Lucille Bawden, a senior social worker at the Department of Children and Family Services. We're talking more about the elderly service team. Hello and welcome to For the Health of It.
Thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody.
So it's going to be kind of one of those sessions. It's an education session. The heaviest question that we're going to be talking about is elderly abuse. Lucille, you want to tell us what are the many different forms of elderly abuse?
Well, there's quite a few forms of elderly abuse. We have physical, we have emotional, psychological, verbal, sexual, financial, including property, and neglect, self-neglect, and abandonment, on occasion abandonment as well.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but do we really need to talk about elderly abuse in the Cayman Islands?
Yes, we do. We most definitely do. Because as more awareness is coming out, we're recognizing there's a lot more elderly being abused, neglected, and so on and so forth, different forms. There's a lot more financial that we're noticing, where the people are taking advantage of the elderly, the property, the money, their power of attorney, and so on and so forth. And then next thing you know, the person could be homeless because they sold their house, they used the money for something else, and now the person's displaced when they thought they had a house for the rest of their life. We have cases like that. We have the population is also aging. When there was a lower age for death rate, now we have people 104 years old, 105 years old in this country, so they're aging later. They're staying alive much later with the medication, with the whatever it is that they're doing, technology, if it's only technology or if it's the environment.
Right.
We haven't seen a higher age of death than we used to see once upon a time.
And that means that people, their money is often spent because they didn't plan on living that long.
No, typically we don't have them. It's usually their families who are taking advantage of their money.
Oh, okay.
So they may have set for their future and their children, but the children utilize that aren't as what is it called? They're not as
adept.
They're and they go, oh, mom, I need money, or this or that. Oh, let me take out a mortgage on your land or your house so I can get my own little house. And before you know it, they fail to pay the mortgage, and they only pay their house. So now the parent loses their house or their power of attorney, so they sell the property, use the money, take another property from them. Because sometimes back in the day, the parties had multiple properties. Well, little by little, they're selling their assets for money, whether it's cost of living, which it shouldn't be cost of living alone, as they don't know how to manage their money. Back in the day, they were more frugal. They knew what they had to do with their money. They knew it needed to be for until they lived the rest of their life. But the children aren't paying attention to that because they were always accustomed to mom or dad or the relatives taking care of them. They weren't made to work like that.
And I have to tell you, when I heard sexual abuse, I was just like, good Lord Almighty, really?
Yes, we definitely have sexual abuse cases. Family, friends, whoever. Even if they're bedridden, it happens.
Well, I guess we don't want to sensationalize that aspect of it, but it's something
It's
that
reality.
we must look at it. Wow, that's it's all I have to say. Is there a high incident of elderly neglect and abuse now, or is this we're just trying to raise awareness?
So, as part of the mandate of our team, the elderly services team at DCFS, we try to bring in awareness of social issues that are affecting older persons in the country. And we respond to abuse and neglect reports of older persons. That's one of the roles of the social worker, along with responding to reports of older persons who require care, such as residential care or home health care to be able to age at home. So elder abuse is one of the social issues that we're seeing that are reported to us in the cases that we work with. And so we have it as, one of our roles that we need to bring an awareness to the country and to the population to try to address some of the issues. And we believe that educating the public is a part of preventing elder abuse, because some people don't necessarily know, that think that elder abuse is happening in the Cayman Islands. But short answer, it is. And I think Lucille gave some examples earlier, and most of the time, people think that abuse happens from outside persons or strangers, but I think we also need to be able to address who the perpetrators are of abuse against older persons, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a stranger or an outside person, although sometimes it is. But we've seen abuse from family members, whether it's in the form that they've neglected the older person for varying reasons, or there is some form of emotional or verbal abuse against the older person, and physical abuse as well is involved in that, and definitely financial abuse of the older person. So sometimes people don't, think there is elder abuse because they think, okay, it's a stranger that's coming to abuse the older person, but it happens right in the home of the older person, and it can happen because the caregiver is perhaps unintentionally or intentionally abusing that older person. And one of the issues that I think we need to talk about here as well is the issue of ageism, which is discrimination against an older person because of their age. And we have seen that there is this attitude at times where persons see that older persons have no value because of their age. So because they're aging, they have no value, or it's okay to take from them, or it's okay to neglect them, it's okay to speak to them this way because they're aging, and perhaps they soon may pass, and of course then that attitude of ageism can lead to neglect and abuse against the older person.
will there be laws or policies or something like that? Because I think that happens in the workplace a lot. You'll notice that there isn't as many training opportunities for someone who is, I wouldn't say senior, because there's different levels of senior, but someone who's, maybe nearing retirement age, they're not allowed to take up the training opportunities because they're giving them away to the, and rightly so. Right. But I'm 60. I'm not ready to retire yet. Mm-hmm. And I know people who are working in the government till 70, mm-hmm. So is there something coming online to address that, the ageism?
Well, I know we're currently working. So there is the Cayman Islands Older Persons Act of 2017. We're currently working under the Ministry of Investment, Innovation, and Social Development. There's a working committee working to bring amendments to that law, where we're going to be offering or bringing amendments for the protection of older persons, especially in situations of abuse and neglect. So there's amendments currently being worked on in this law that will offer more protection for older persons, will offer as well more resources to the social worker, because sometimes we're very limited as to what we can do to address some incidents of abuse and neglect in an older person, especially where the older person has no family, where the older person doesn't want to cooperate with us, or perhaps where there's limited evidence as well. So we are currently working on those amendments and hoping very soon that we have a law protecting older persons in the country.
I have a follow-up question with regards to neglect. We talked about what abuse looks like, mm-hmm. but paint a picture for our audience on what neglect looks like. I just want to make sure we understand the differences.
Neglect could be a lot of things. You neglect their giving them food, their medication, their bathing, hygiene, all that stuff all counts as neglect. Yeah. Leaving them alone, telling them that it's just, it could go on. You don't want to feed them. You make them go in the bathroom in their diaper or something, not change them. Things like that. It could, like I said, it could go to a ton of things that we could consider as neglect, including self-neglect. Because sometimes they don't want to bathe. Sometimes they don't want to do this. Sometimes they don't want to wash their clothes. They wear the same outfit. That's all part of neglect and self-neglect. Besides leaving them alone, they don't check on them for days, weeks, whatever. And they have to fend for themselves. And some of them aren't capable of fending for themselves. I've seen there's one incident where the person was put in a chair to use the bathroom in, with a hole cut in the seat, so they could use the bathroom by themselves when nobody was home. That's not proper for anybody, let alone an older person. We have more provisions for animals than we do for some older people, till somebody lets us know. And then we could try and put provisions in, help them get the necessary things. But neglect is a really serious thing.
Yeah. And, I'm not trying to make anyone feel better, but sometimes, dealing with people with dementia, because that's a different dimension in itself. That's not an easy thing. Mm. And I'm not trying to say it as an excuse, but sometimes they give a lot of pushback. But you raise your hand up, you put on your big girl panties, and you call for help and say, mm-hmm. Here's what's happening, and now you tell us where to go when it's happening with that. Do you want to tell the audience where they can go to get help?
So we have a couple of resources that in the community. Besides our agency, we have we work closely with RCIPS, HSA. We have a DASI, Adult Dementia Awareness, Alzheimer's, in the Cayman Islands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have the DASI program that we refer the clients to become aware of the signs and symptoms of it and how to treat them. Because as you said, we get a lot of pushback from the people who have dementia that forget that you fed them. So they said, you didn't feed me, I didn't have coffee, I didn't have tea, I didn't have this. And so now other people are thinking they're not eating because they don't remember eating. And they'll do this over and over again. And that's another issue. Sometimes it's not correct information when it comes to cases like that. So it's a whole different network of resources that we have to kind of, all right, how do we work with this one? So no case is the same.
Yeah.
You got the physical ones. You got the ones that are just lay there. You got the ones that still joke and think it's today. They're 10 years ago, 20 years ago, their childhood is today. You know, so you have different ones that you have to work with their personalities to know what is true, what's not true. You got to see some of their schedule and see if they're losing weight. Yeah, maybe they are not being fed. You have to look for different signs when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's, which is a big problem. We're seeing more and more cases of that too.
Yeah. So the first point really should be checking with you guys.
Well, we get quite a bit of reports where families are dealing with older persons with dementia or some other type of cognitive decline, and they're unable to manage the care. So we try to link them to additional services, perhaps home health care, perhaps it's linking them with a DASI for education, or perhaps it's a social worker working with them to educate the family as well about some of the changing behaviors, changing lifestyles that happen with older persons. And this is one of the main things that we see that leads to abuse or neglect, because then there's perhaps verbal abuse of the older person or some type of emotional abuse or neglect because they cannot manage the care. So through these education sessions, and whether it's for the health of it or us doing a presentation to the community, we try to talk to persons to say, you know, educating yourself about these behaviors or these different changes that happen with an older person can help prevent some of these type of behaviors, or, you know, some of the abuse that happens to the older person. If it means that the older person the family member has to accompany the older person to the doctor as well to be educated on the particular medical condition or perhaps the side effects of medication. Sometimes you see behavior changes just because of medication that the older person is on. We also have been doing partnered last year with Health City to do some training as well for families understanding how to care for older persons, because we realize there's quite a bit of need in the community that we can't fill, and there's a lot of families who themselves are caring for their older person. So this is something that we're trying to continue as well this year, coming up in Older Persons Month. And, you know, we're always available. You know, reports can be made to DCFS. Our number is 949-0290. We also can have persons come into our office. We're located second floor, Apollo House. Persons can come in, do walk-ins there. We also have an email address, DCFS Elderly Services, that reports can be made to.
Yeah, and are these anonymous reports?
So reports of abuse can be anonymous, but we let people know, because sometimes the reporter really can be a part of the solution as well. So we don't, report to the older person or to their family that this report was made by this person. We don't do that. But if the reporter can be involved in the solution, we will work with the older person. We will work with the reporter.
And, I did Meals on Wheels for, I think, 3 years before I gave it up. But that was a very rewarding experience. It was also one of the saddest things that I've seen, people who are coming not to the end of their life, because they still have much life to be had, but some of the states that they,
right,
a Meals on Wheels only delivers once a day, and not on the weekends. It's Monday to Friday, not on a holiday. But they are they're a very good service and much needed. They're also partners with you guys, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so Meals on Wheels is one of our community partners, and I know you just mentioned that they're only delivering once a day for 5 days a week, but Meals on Wheels is a key partner in this as well, because that person that delivers food is there in the home and they can observe what's happening, and so reports can be made by volunteers who work for Meals on Wheels as well. We actually were able to offer a training session to some of the volunteers for Meals on Wheels last year, just to be able to provide some education as well in working with older persons and understanding some of their behaviors and some of their lifestyles as well. So things that, and also in elder abuse, so that these volunteers are trained in some of the signs to look for. And some things are quite obvious, you know, when you go and you see unsanitary conditions, the older person looks uncapped or untidy or perhaps malnourished or dehydrated. So those are things that can be reported to us. We get reports from a number of community agencies, and we work along with a number of community agencies to investigate some of the more serious type of abuse cases.
I know that I'm bringing this back to the dementia and Alzheimer's kind of, situation. When they're in that state, let's face it, they were independent adults at one point in their life. And they're cognizant for the most part, in the first stages of Alzheimer's dementia. They're cognizant that something is wrong. So sometime they get hyper aggressive. These might be most church-going people in the world, but have the foulest language, right?
That's true.
And it must be hard for family members to see that, to go through that. At the same time, what I'm hearing from you is don't live in shame by that. Come to us, put your hand up, and we can try to see what services we can direct you to. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's correct. So what we do as social workers, we go in the homes, we do welfare checks, we advocate for them. If we could help them, we will. We refer them to the necessary agencies that could provide the services that they need, as well as whatever treatment needs, not just services, but treatment. So if we have to link up with the hospital, mental health, we have to link up with the GP that they normally go to. If we have to link up with the family, we try and work. If we have to link up with the Meals on Wheels, because maybe they're not being fed, or maybe they don't have enough food to do it because they're paying for Pampers and this and that. And so they'll help us with that. And so those are the services that we could do for these elderly people who need that extra, who need the support in the home, provide counseling for the family that is trying to take care of them. That is also, because if they get to a point where they're no longer able to function, who's going to take care of them?
Yeah. You can't give from an empty cup.
Right. So we have to make sure services available and guide them as well.
And you said earlier in the interview, you talked about financial abuse. What are some ways that the elderly can look and start protecting themselves now, as opposed to waiting till they're, incompetent, for lack of a better word?
Okay, one of the things that we like to talk about with older persons is advanced care planning. Advanced care planning is about making a plan with your family or your loved ones to make decisions on your behalf when you are no longer able to make those decisions for yourself. So we like to talk about it to get people to think about this. It could be from, persons preparing for retirement, persons nearing the age of an older person, which in this country is age 65. It could be people in their 50s, 40s. You want to start talking with your family, your loved ones, about wishes that you want, about how you want to live when you no longer can take care of yourself. And so we believe that if older persons prepared an advanced care plan to state perhaps how somebody could manage their assets for them, so that they can receive the care that they want to receive when they no longer can speak for themselves, that would help to prevent some financial abuse as well, because perhaps then the person would have, given consent for a power of attorney. and would have had meetings with their families or had conversations with their families or their loved ones, appointed a proxy, and been able to state, their wishes, what they want to happen with their money, how their money should be spent. So that is one of the things that we like to talk about, and we've done presentations on that as well. So advanced care planning is one of the things that we can do to help prevent financial abuse, but also there are things such as that we provide tips on to families or to older persons, such as doing multiple signatories or such on your bank account, so that you don't have a joint bank account with somebody.
We have a minute left in the interview. What else would you like to add that we haven't talked about? You want to say where they can come and get help? Because it's not a lot of time.
I have nothing other than the address where they could come get help is 87 Mary Street, Apollo House East, which is the Department of Children and Family Services, and we're located in the same department. We're one of the units in there. They could call 949-0290, which is the main number for there. They can call the MASH unit, which is at another building, the Crown Plaza. They also take reports and pass them on. They could call the police, make a report to them, and they'll pass it on. So there's multiple agencies that will refer the matter to us, or they could just walk in.
Okay. I hate to say this, but if they call, will they get a live human being, or will they go to voicemail?
No. Usually they get a live human being.
Okay.
On occasion, there is a time when maybe somebody walked away from the desk. But try back. We're not one of the agencies that don't answer the phone.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. And we have an intake officer each day, or intake social worker. So there's somebody assigned to deal with a report within 24 hours.
And it can be confidential or anonymous if you want it to be.
Yes, it can. And can I just add, in regards to making reports, please make the reports directly, as Miss Lucille said, to the proper reporting agencies. Sometimes we get third-party reports, and, it takes a while to get to us. So, in order to get a report timely and for us to be able to collect the pertinent information that can help the older person, we need to have the report. So it's either police or DCFS.
And to include on those reports, in order for it to work, we need a name, full name, date of birth, and address. Because without those, we won't know where to go.
Yeah, it can be Santa Claus.
Right. Somewhere in West Bay.
Yeah.
It won't work.
The pink tree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. I've been interviewing Lucille Bodden and Cassandra Ferron from the Department of Children and Family Services, and we've been talking about elder abuse awareness. Thank you all for being on For the Health of It.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are moving you to the life you want.
There's nothing more important than your health, and seeking expert healthcare with physicians you can trust is what you deserve. UHealth, the University of Miami Health System, offers peace of mind to you and your family with a first-class experience. Our patient coordinators assist with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. As South Florida's only academic-based health system, UHealth offers cutting-edge treatment, compassionate care, and life-changing results just a flight away. Learn more at umiamihealth.org/international.
When I first started going to Healthcare Pharmacy, it was because it was convenient. But over the years, I continued to shop there because I trusted them. One day I was picking up my prescription, and the pharmacist noticed an over-the-counter medication in my basket. She said, "I hope that's not yours. It will interact with your prescription." And I thought, wow, thank you. Trust is so important when it comes to your health. Healthcare Pharmacy, with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor's Square, where they care about my health.
Attention HR managers and business leaders. Want to boost productivity, reduce absenteeism, and show your team that their well-being matters? The Lightroom now offers custom corporate memberships designed to enhance energy and mental clarity, reduce stress, and improve overall health, creating a healthier, more focused workforce. Invest in your team's well-being, because a thriving team leads to a thriving business. Visit thelightroom.ky to learn more. It's a new era in wellness.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush. Brought to you by the Health Services Authority. Caring people, quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governor Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky. Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And UHealth, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Light Room, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Information, entertainment, inspiration.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac.
Since 1976